Hello everyone. Today's video is going to be about neuroplasticity. And if you've been watching a lot of my videos, you will know that I actually joined Reorigin about a year ago to do, almost a year ago to do neuroplasticity because I was stuck with my food sensitivities. I could only eat lamb, beef and chicken, and I wanted to get more variety of foods into me. So thanks to neuroplasticity with Reorigin and following their program, I've been able to get all the foods, a lot more foods into me, like the ones that I've got in the videos of fermented foods. That was a huge one there, and I'm eating eggs every day now, and I'm eating a tin of sardines each week, once a week, and I'm having cod liver oil, and I'm eating brisket. I'm eating lamb shanks, so I'm getting a lot more variety into me, as well as the fermented foods, which is so important for the healthy gut microbiome. Before Reorigin, I had lots of failed attempts of getting fermented foods into me because of histamine and salicylate intolerances, but thanks to the brain retraining, I was able to get these fermented foods into me, and I've been eating them ever since. So, and I'm feeling a lot better in my gut. I'm finally getting a healthy gut microbiome because, as I said in one of my testimonies, I did a gut microbiome with cultured wellness, and I had hardly any healthy gut microbiome, and I had a lot of bad gut microbiome. So getting those fermented foods into me has been a crucial part of it. And also with multiple chemical sensitivities, I couldn't go into public places. I was housebound most of the time, and if I did go out, it was into nature, camping, things like that, but now, I'm going into public places, I'm going on the bus again, and I'm not afraid to live my life now. So multiple chemical sensitivities have been dealt with too, and I realized that I'd, been living my life in fear and in that nervous system stress response, which is called the sympathetic state. And that's not a healthy place to live, to be living in, because the body cannot heal when it's in that sympathetic freeze, fright, flight mode, because you're so stressed out within yourself. And it's where the nervous system is on high alert. You want, the sympathetic system is good at the right occasions, like if there's true danger, like if you're being chased by a tiger or a lion or a snake, or if you get too close to a cliff, or or if you step off the curb and a car comes round the corner, so you step back off onto the curb again out of danger. Those are the times you want the sympathetic state to actually kick into action, and if you're in that state all the time, it's like the body doesn't get a break. It's because it's got to be in the parasympathetic, the rest and digest state, for the body to heal. So this is kind of like what it says. I did put a video at the beginning of the video, but basically this is the ventral vagal safety state, because this is the polyvagal chart. So down here you're safe, you feel connected, settled, grounded, and you've got that curiosity and openness, your compassion. Should get more on the screen, shouldn't I? And you're mindful in the present, you're being in the present. And and when you're in this rest and digest state, your digestive system works and functions properly. So if you're always in that stress response, your digestive system isn't working properly, because the limbic system and nervous system is too busy focusing on the danger that, the digestive system is one of the last things that gets, checked into. So, yeah. And then you have good mentality. You have the resistance to infections because you're strong and healthy. Your immune response is good. Your rest and recuperation is good. You've got health and vitality. Your organs and everything are really good. You're getting that oxytocin, which is the neuromodulator involved in social bonds and that allow us to move without being in fear, and the ability to relate and connect with each other. The movements, eyes, head turning. So that's where we want to be majority of the time. So that's called the parasympathetic state. Now up here is the sympathetic state, as I mentioned, and that's the danger part. And that's the hyper arousal where you're panicking and fear, anxiety, worry, concern, rage, anger, frustration, and so forth. When this actually rises, your blood pressure, your heart rate rises, you feel the adrenaline, the oxygen, the circulation to vital organs is not so good. Yeah, it's digestive issues, so it's not a really good place to go. And then as it goes up to the freeze response up here, which is the dorsal vagal part, which it feels life-threatening. I've been in that place where I just freeze and I can't get, it's a horrible place. And you sort of basically shut down, you feel shame, hopelessness, trapped, you feel like you're going to die, disassociation, numbness, depression, raised pain threshold, helplessness, and I'll add breathing issues and unable to relax and be calm. So, yeah, that's basically the 3 stages of it. And in here you can see the, oops, if I can get the piece of paper, the autonomic nervous system. Now, like I said, I've got these pictures at the beginning of the video, so you can actually rewind and actually click on these and have a better view of them. But as you can see up here, you've got the eyes, you've got the airways, you've got where the saliva, right there. So, and if you're in the parasympathetic, you've got that moist mouth, the saliva, but when you're in the sympathetic stage, you've got a dry mouth. And you've got the kidney function, heart function, the digestive system, the bladder. Trying to read, that's been a bit cut off. And you've got bladder, and everything else is sort of like functioning there. But then when you're on the other side, the sympathetic, all these other areas are affected. Like I said, your digestive system doesn't work properly, your organs are affected, your concentration, increased heart rate. Yeah, so it's not the most enjoyable place to be, and that's why it's so important, to deal with your past, to deal with trauma, to calm the system down so that you're not in that sympathetic state most of your life, which I know for me, I have been in that most of my life. And I think I'm just so grateful for Reorigin and the neuroplasticity that has actually helped me to see that, and I've been able to work on calming my system down. Now this is another good example of the brain. Now the amygdala, if I'm pronouncing it right, that is, the hub of the limbic system where fear and anxiety and threats happen. So if you're perceiving something as dangerous, it's going to go straight to the amygdala, and then it's going to start sending the signals, and then the whole limbic system and nervous system starts to function and goes on that alert. Now, the pituitary gland, if I'm pronouncing it right, that controls the hormones, the body temperature, the mental cues, and the adrenaline in our bodies, our heart rate, our hunger, our sleep and wake cycle, our emotions, and our brain abilities. Sorry, that's also the hypothalamus that does that as well. Sorry, I was connecting both of those. The pituitary gland actually, through secretion of its hormones, the pituitary gland controls metabolism, growth, sexual metabolism, reproduction, blood pressure, and many other vital physical functions and processes. So that's what it is. So sorry, I got a bit mixed up before there. And the corpus callosum, if I'm pronouncing some of these brain terms right, ensures that both sides of the brain can communicate, sending signals to each other. And the insula, if I'm pronouncing that right, also controls the pain cortex. And you'll see here in that picture, this is what they see when they do an MRI when someone's in chronic pain. All these bits here light up. So with brain retraining, you can actually train that by visualizing and imagining that you're shrinking down those lit up lights to shrink them down, and then that calms the pain down. So it's pretty good. But yeah, so this is Shrink the Pain map by flooding the brain using thoughts, images, senses, memories, soothing emotions, movement, and beliefs. Like you can even look on a YouTube video of, nature, or imagine you're looking on YouTube videos and watching cute puppies and cats playing. That can all get you those nice, good dose chemicals. Now, to explain the dose chemicals, which is so important, dopamine, all these dose chemicals, which is dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins, they're all what our body naturally produces. And the dopamine is a type of neurotransmitter our body makes, and our nervous system uses it to send messages between neurocells. It's a chemical messenger. Dopamine plays a role in how we feel, like pleasure, satisfaction, motivation, and things like that. It's actually a big part of our unique human ability to think and plan things. Dopamine helps us strive, focus, and find things that are interesting. And dopamine affects many parts of our behavior and our physical functions like learning, motivation, heart rate, blood vessels function, kidney function, lactation, sleep, mood, affection, pain processing, movement. And you'll find that people with Parkinson's disease, they're actually low in dopamine, and this is where it's causing a lot of the issues. So dopamine is a very, very important thing. So finding things that, doing things that bring us pleasure and joy is really important, keeping our dopamine levels at that right level, and which is very important. And the next one is oxytocin. That is a peptide hormone and neuropeptide, normally produced in the hypothalamus, which is, where did I have that? The hypothalamus is there in the brain. And is released by the I can't pronounce some of these words, it's a bit of a tongue twister. Pituitary, which is that one up here, going by that there. And that plays a role in behavior. that includes social bonding, reproduction. Oxytocin can induce anti-stress-like effects such as a reduction of blood pressure and cortisol levels, which is very important, and increases the pain threshold and stimulates the positive social interaction. And oxytocin has the power to regulate our emotional responses and behavior like trust, empathy, and positive memories and so forth. So yeah, oxytocin is another important thing that we've got to make sure that we're maintaining. And all these good activities that bring you joy and happiness is all things that can do that. And then the next one is serotonin. That's the influencing mood regulation, learning, memory, happiness, regulating body temperature, sleep, hunger for well-being, and metabolism, sleep, and cognition. Serotonin is a naturally occurring monoamine neurotransmitter that carries signals between nerve cells throughout our body. And endorphins are released by the hypothalamus and the pituitary gland, which I showed you before, in response to pain or stress. And this group of peptide hormones both relieves pain and creates a general feeling of well-being. And so to do that, exercising, laughter, playing music, all things like that, which bring you joy as well. So these are the things that help us go into the parasympathetic, which is that parachute leaning you down gently, as opposed to the CAN, which is cortisol, adrenaline, and noradrenaline. This is which brings on their acute stress and can result in high blood pressure, headaches, and weight gain and so forth. So these are things that you don't really want to be living in every day of your life. I know it's not fun, it's not pleasant, and that's what causes a lot of health issues. So it's important to focus on throughout the day your dose chemicals. That's what we call that for short. Dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins, and it makes it easy to remember when you say dose chemicals. So doing activities like that is so important to correcting all that. Now, the cortex, this is the important part of the limbic system, which helps regulate emotions as well, and pain, and the cognitive process. And the thalamus, that's the relay station where motor and sensory information, hearing and taste and sight, etc. And then the hippocampus, that's where memories are, and forming new memories, learning, emotions, and it is actually very susceptible to injury, and and stress and disease can cause that as well. So yeah, parts of the body can actually shrink with stress and everything, and you don't want that to happen. And the mammillary body is the recollective memory, which begins with the hippocampus, where theta waves activate the CA3 neurons in the hippocampus. Oh, tongue twisting. So that gives you a bit of a rough idea of what the brain does. Now, with the Reorigin program, you basically sign up for a 12-month subscription to their program, and also to the community forum, where there's lots of activities and programs going on within the forum. And that so with the program and being consistent with that helps retrain the brain, and incremental training when it comes to introducing foods and overcoming multiple chemical sensitivities. And there's lots of illnesses that can be helped with that. Anything that's to do with the neuro side of it, like endo, fibro, OCD, anxiety, fear, depression, food sensitivities, multiple chemical sensitivities. There's just so many things that you can retrain your brain and to get better. Now, I've actually been, if you want more information, you've got Norman Deutsch. This is his second book. His first book is called The Brain That Changes Itself. Now, in his first book, he shares a lot of case studies in there, and one was this gentleman. He actually had a stroke, and his son was actually starting to get into neuroplasticity, and he thought, well, just like a baby has to learn to crawl before they can walk, he actually got his dad to actually start to learn to crawl, and he had to use the wall to help keep him up. So, and then he just kept practicing that every day, practicing every day. And then as he started to get stronger and stronger, he could advance to not needing the wall, and then, crawling around there. And then it got to the part where he can start to learn to walk properly. And it took a good year and a half. But, after that year and a half, he was hiking, he could talk, he could do so many things because he did neuroplasticity to retrain and get limbs and all that all happening and so forth. And he actually lasted another 7 years. He actually he went on a really high mountain climb and ended up dying of a heart attack. And then after that, they did an autopsy on his brain, and they could actually see the damage in the brain from when he had that stroke 7 years previous. But you could also see that the neurons and so forth had formed, so that he could live pretty much a normal life after having that major stroke that completely wiped out his whole left side. So yeah, there's lots of stories in that, so I highly recommend Norman Deutsch's first book, and I'm still reading this one, his second one, which is The Brain's Way of Healing. So there's lots of exciting information in here. And basically this one was in here. This is how I got that map. I googled it off Google, got it off Google and printed it off. And that was actually done by pain specialist Michael I'm going to try and pronounce the surname, Moskowitz, if I'm pronouncing that right. And he actually had some, a couple of major accidents which actually affected his thing, where he really it was really horrible what he did to himself. But he actually managed to heal himself by brain retraining, and he used that theory where he got the brain, had a picture like this and then a picture of a brain when it's normal, and he kept visualizing that each time the chronic pain would flare up, he would just imagine that and look at the pictures of the brain. So he's visualizing, and he saw those calm down, so shrinking it down, and he managed to get himself out of chronic pain, and he's actually helping many patients with that. And he's actually come up with his thing called the mirror analogy. The M stands for motivation. Motivated and active in reading how pain develops and actively visualize. Use each attack of pain as a motivation and opportunity to apply the technique which will work. And I is intention. The immediate intention is not to get rid of the pain, it is to focus the mind in order to change the brain. These mental efforts help build new circuits and weaken the pain network. If he got a pain attack and used it as an opportunity to exercise mental effort and develop new connections in his brain, which will help in the long run. The reward is to disconnect excessively wide pain networks and to restore more balanced brain function in those pain process regions of the brain. Just to just imagine the limbic system is like a computer. You've got to clean it up. You've got to delete old files and things that are redundant, that are slowing down the computer, and clean it up so that it works efficiently. Well, that's kind of like what we do. We've got to, instead of being on autopilot all the time, we've got to be more mindful and do cleanups of our, redundant thought loops, because the brain can get stuck in a loop. It can get stuck in a loop. So imagine if you've got a hill of sand and you're putting, you roll a marble down it. It's going to, do a groove in it, and each time you put the marble down, it will keep going in that groove, and that's how the limbic system gets stuck, and that's how a lot of these chronic pain and other symptoms and food sensitivities and multiple chemical sensitivities, they can get stuck going down that same loop. So you're going round and round the same old, reaction to things. So, it's important to, change that loop, like putting the marble down a different way so that it can go a much healthier way, so you're not stuck in that loop, so you can keep moving forward in health and well-being. Now, R is for relentless. Intense focus is generally required to alter the circuits to make new connections. So every time pain is detected with full focus and with specific intention of rewiring the brain back to what it was before the chronic pain began. And R is for reliability, is to remember that the brain is not the enemy. We can rely upon the brain to restore and maintain normal function if it has clear and unrelenting directions to do so. The brain and nervous system are not trying to punish the person in pain. The brain is a living system and constantly seeking a stable state. We have to bring in conscious control in the form of new learning until the brain and body can carry on without conscious input. And O is for opportunity, turning each pain episode into a chance to repair the faulty alarm system. Because our limbic system and nervous system, it acts as a alarm system to danger. So it can become faulty and see everything in danger, which is what it did to me, because it's like I needed to be in a bubble almost. So it's having to retrain the system so that it's not a faulty alarm system, so it becomes more regulated again and gets back to that baseline homeostasis state. Where did I get up to? Yes, so by turning each pain episode into a chance to repair the faulty alarm system using the pain spike to heal. This attitude by itself can alter the mindset and brain chemistry, because pain that persists sets off the amygdala, which I showed you back along here, which is down there in the brain. Hang on, let me get that better. Which is that green bit there. It sets the amygdala off before the parts of the brain that modify our emotional responses can be turned on, causing experiencing the trauma caused by the pain. Every time the pain worsens, it turns into that fight, flight, and the sympathetic state. This is why it's so important to turn the pain episodes into an opportunity to practice neuroplasticity and heal. So the goal is to be comfortable and relaxed with the sensations and not fight and resist them, because what you resist persists. So by just letting it just flow through, knowing it's temporary and benign, it will pass through and it will have a half-life if you don't resist it. So that's important there. Now, R is restoration. Means the goal isn't to mask pain or take the edge off it, but to restore normal brain function. And visualization decreases the brain pain. The posterior parietal lobe, which I think I showed you, which is, like I said, up here. That which is the normally processes both the pain and the visual perception. Repeated visualization is a direct way of using thought to stimulate neurons and neurostimulation. And like I said, visualization can be like, finding a nice nature video on YouTube, whether it be in the bush or you've gone to a nice Pacific Island retreat where there's, it's a nice relaxing place. Or, like I said, it could be watching puppy dogs and cat videos. It can be anything you want, like if you go to the botanical gardens, you're visualizing all the beautiful flowers and everything like that. And, remember like when you were a kid, or if you've watched your own kids as they've grown up, or you watch other people's kids, they're really good at imagination and visualizing and getting their dose chemicals up when they're playing their games, and they're imagining that they're their favorite TV character or whoever it is. And they visualize they're playing this game, and they go, oh, what if we do this? And they just have great imaginations, and I think they're the experts in doing these visualizations and getting the dose chemicals up. And I think as we get older and life happens, I think we lose that part of it, but I think it's important to get that back so that we can get our dose chemicals up. And it's good to dream and imagine we've gone away on a holiday, or we're sitting on a deck chair on the tropical island with our nice refreshing tropical drink, sun shining, and you can hear the birds chirping. These are all things that bring you joy and help you feel relaxed and calm. And yeah, it's good to visualize and dream and things like that about that to get those chemicals up. I just think it's good that God's instilled that in us, and because the body has everything it needs to self-heal, we've just got to get out of the road, and our body is fully equipped and capable of homeostasis too, that rest and digest baseline level, and that's what we want to aim for. So yeah, it's just important to do neuroplasticity. I think it's the new thing, and to keep short tabs of our thoughts. And I did a video on asking ourselves, is what we're thinking or doing helpful and healthful? A lot of the time it's not, and I think we've got to watch ourselves. Are we getting stressed, and therefore our breathing becomes short? So do we need to calm our system down and sort of start to regulate it, by taking a deep breath, and that calms it down. And the nervous system likes rhythm, so you can do all these things to calm it down, and do all these fun exercises to distract it. You can do crocheting, you can do art, you can do free writing. There's just so many things, art and crafts, going for a walk, looking in nature, playing with puppies and animals, and there's just so many things that you can do that can bring you back to that calm and relaxed state. And so I think it's important to monitor ourselves and do regular audits of ourselves. Okay, where am I at? Am I doing okay? Or am I a bit stressed? And work on calming your system down and getting your system regulated. And like I said, I highly recommend joining Reorigin, and joining the group, doing the program, and being part of the community, because there's power in community. Because there's been plenty of times where someone's posted something and it's like, oh man, I needed to hear that. That was the missing link, which was what I was dealing with, and it will help me to get over that hump that I was in, and it's like I needed that. And it's like, when you're going through things, it can be a bit of a blind spot until someone points it out. So it's just amazing. I think brain retraining is just incredible. And I've also got another neuroplasticity book called Steady as a Rock, for tinnitus and dizziness and vertigo, all that sort of thing. So I've got that book too. I should have brought that in, but it's in the other room. So there's lots of information out there on neuroplasticity. Check out my playlist. I've got stuff on neuroplasticity in there on my playlist, so you can check out a lot of the videos there, and you can check out Reorigin's website. And if you want any more information on neuroplasticity, just put a comment down below. I know that it'll help you if you're struggling with areas of your life. I know neuroplasticity will help you, and it can help with mold illness too. I didn't need to do the Shoemaker protocol because it was all in my limbic system. I've overcome mold. I'm not afraid to come across some mold. I know my body can handle it now. So, yeah, what we think and do really affects our brain and creates neural pathways, and you want to create healthful and healthy neural pathways. You want to be who you want to be. If you don't want to be a fearful person, you want to be a strong and courageous person that enjoys life, and just keep holding on to who you want to be and keep moving forward. You've got to, watch your negative thoughts and, and reframe it and, tell yourself who you're supposed to be. Like, I'm a woman of God. I'm a child of God. God's got a calling in my life, and I couldn't do it before because I was living in the sympathetic state instead of the parasympathetic state. And God gives us gives us grace to do what He wants us to do. So, yeah, this is, me doing this YouTube channel that I started in November is thanks to the neuroplasticity and the calling God's put on my life. I couldn't do this before because I was fearful, I couldn't do it, so it's just amazing. I just can't put words to it. And I really highly recommend neuroplasticity because it's the new way of healing. Where everything else doesn't work, neuroplasticity works. So yeah, I really recommend you to join Reorigin if you want to get help and fix areas in your life that you want to fix, and so that you can move forward and become the person that you're meant to be. So anyway, I hope you've found this helpful. God bless.